the outside forces that are trying to take down this expedition are relying on Murderbot being as incompetent as the other security bots that get assigned, and the company gets characterized as like the cheapest fucking possible organization you can imagine. Like they're cutting costs everywhere, and so the security bots don't get training. They're just kind of like, you have weapons, it'll be fine. But Murderbot is like, no, I've seen this in my programs. I've seen this in my shows. I've seen it in my pictures. I know what to do. And executes all these, like, action hero-esque plans based on Top Gun, basically.
I was going to say, like, I've watched every episode of NCIS. I've got this.
And it works is the problem.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I just want to be watching my shows, man.
And this week, we read Martha Wells' award-winning sci-fi novella, All Systems Red. Before we hack our governor modules to watch 35,000 hours of media, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
Aren't you tired of being nice? Don't you just want to override your governor module, kill a million miners, and go apeshit?
Yeah, and then be forcibly recommissioned to just be a security robot? Yeah, it sounds great, actually.
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, so do you have any previous exposure to this book?
Just you talking about it.
Okay, good. So like for me, I heard about this in 2018 when it like was up for, I think, both a Nebula and a Hugo, which I believe it won. So congrats to Martha Wells. But like I read it when I was working at the school, and I just like read it at my desk, and you know I didn't like it that much when I first read it. But I got the audiobook this time, and my enjoyment of it improved dramatically. I thought it was like a lot more fun. I don't know why. I guess I've changed a lot in the last 4 years. But yeah,
I wonder what could possibly have happened.
Yeah,
to make a dramatic change in one's personality in the last 4 years.
Yeah, fucking weird. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this for listeners. This is actually recorded in the. I mean, I guess they're all recorded in the past, but this one is going out like months ahead. Like we don't know. Actually, Leyla knows. But this is
episode 114. We are recording it at the same time as 107.
Yeah, so literally 7 weeks from the episode that's coming out on the week that we're recording. So like, yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. But you know, it'll be a fun time. And we just wanted to have something to make sure that we had an episode for when Leyla is traveling.
I'm going to be a business baby. They're sending me on a work trip. So I got two consecutive work trips. So that's why we're, you'll hear some interesting past Aaron and Leyla vibes on this episode, and probably on Fast 6. We'll find out what our second filler is going to be. But yeah, the vibes are going to be interesting.
They sure will.
Stick with us.
Yeah. Do you want to do the plot summary, or should I do the plot summary?
I feel like I haven't done one in a while. Yeah, I can do it.
Go for it.
Thank you for providing notes. So this is, as Aaron mentioned, a novella, so it's a little bit on the shorter side in terms of reading. It is about a security bot, or a secu bot, that refers to itself as Murderbot, and how it gets sent on a routine mission with a group of scientists on as part of like an exploratory or like a survey commission. All seems pretty normal. Murderbot is more interested in watching the many hours of television that he has downloaded, because he quite literally hacked his own, what is it, the governor module,
yeah.
Governor module, which is the thing that makes him obey commands. he hacked it and disabled it just so he could watch television on his own time. Unfortunately, the exploratory the survey group gets attacked by a creature that wasn't in their brief. Oh no. And that's when things start to go awry, and they start to notice that the other survey group has suddenly stopped responding to like pings, and all of a sudden they're not there. And when they go to check on the security group or the other survey group, they're all dead. And so Murderbot gets kind of dragged along on this mission to find out who the hell is trying to take down these survey groups, why they're omitting pieces of maps, and to protect these humans that he's actually kind of grown to like, and who are kind of exploring their own feelings towards a security bot whose governor module is overridden. In the end, he gets purchased by the humans so that he can live freely on their planet. And he's like, I'm tired of having decisions made for me. Peace. And he escapes. So that is the novella. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think novellas are great because they're short. And, as people who try to consume a weekly piece of media, we like short. But also, I think it's very fun. I think it's a very good example of how tone can make or break a story. And I think that the narrative tone and voice of Murderbot, that's what I'm actually speaking about is voice. I think Murderbot's voice is the thing that carries the novel. And I think they're great.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it so much, in fact, that I've actually wishlisted. I'm waiting for the second book to go on sale. And I also found out that Martha Wells wrote a Princess Leia book.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I picked that up today. It is $5 on Kindle right now. I'm really excited to read it because I really like this voice, and what I appreciated about the novella is it plays kind of. First of all, it does us a favor in the fact that there are not a lot of proper nouns, right?
No.
You and I have come out quite staunchly against proper nouns in sci-fi. And this one has it's got a couple, like Secubot, but it's a security bot. That's pretty easy. We can figure that out. There's vague allusions to the company, but that's not a proper noun. It's all good. Everything is pretty vague, and as a reader, you're left to fill in a lot of details in terms of what does anything look like? What does a security bot look like? You kind of at first start thinking that he's a robot because he doesn't describe himself, and then you get to the parts where he's like, yes, he has embedded weapons, but he also has armor that he can take on and off, and he looks human under that armor, and all of that is revealed piecemeal in a way that actually adds to the characterization of the Murderbot, because he doesn't care what he looks like. He prefers to stay out of human sight. And I thought it was very nice and engaging, and I liked it a lot. I'm excited to read the rest of the series.
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely a series. I believe several of the following novellas also received awards. But yeah, highly recommend you check out the whole series. Let's talk about our titular Murderbot. And I think we should start actually with the way that we're gendering Murderbot, because it doesn't ever say what Murderbot's gender is. They often refer to the other characters refer to Murderbot as it. But in my notes, I started referring to Murderbot as a she, because that is, I had a femme presenting voice for my audiobook. And I think that's very interesting, right? That we both gendered Murderbot differently, just completely based on not just our own perceptions of it. But yeah, I don't know, how do we gender Murderbot here?
Oh, I think you know what? I don't think Murderbot would care. I think we get to switch
That's true.
it up.
Murderbot absolutely does not give a shit. They're an asexual killing machine. They just want to watch TV.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, there are more than enough people that go by any pronoun. I think we can just
do whatever.
Fast and loose here. That's pretty cool.
Yes, very interesting. But yeah, I think the best way to kind of impart the tone of what Murderbot is I have the book pulled up, and the quote is It had been well over 35,000 hours or so since then, with still not much murdering, but probably, I don't know, a little under 35,000 hours of movies, serials, books, plays, and music consumed. As a heartless killing machine, I was a terrible failure, right? That's Murderbot's whole deal. She doesn't really give a shit about killing, even though she can kill. She really just wants to be left alone to watch her serials, specifically Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon, which my understanding from the snippets in the novel is kind of like a trashy, like, space general hospital, which is very fun, and I love that.
Well, here's the thing is, like, Murderbot, the outside forces that are trying to take down this expedition are relying on Murderbot being as incompetent as the other security bots that get assigned, and the company gets characterized as, like, the cheapest fucking possible organization you can imagine. Like, they're cutting costs everywhere. And so the security bots don't get training. They're just kind of like, you have weapons, it'll be fine. But Murderbot is like, nope, I've seen this in my programs. I've seen this in my shows. I've seen it in my pictures. I know what to do. And executes all these, like, action hero-esque plans based on Top Gun, basically.
I was going to say, like, I've watched every episode of NCIS. I've got this.
And it works is the problem.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, like, Murderbot gets fucked up several times, but because of the way that, Murderbot is a robot, to be fair, a robot with organic parts, which is very important. A
construct is how they refer to it.
Yes. So, like, it can get repaired if it goes in its little cubicle. But yeah, I think it's very funny that, like, if you just watch enough TV and you have a gun, you actually, that's not funny. That's America. Never mind.
I was going to say, that's the reality we're living in right now.
Statement withdrawn. But yeah, Murderbot's great. And, he grows to love the people that he's, on this mission with. I mean, love is a strong word, but, like, cares for a lot of them, once they start sticking up for it, and they're like, okay, this thing clearly gives a shit about us, even it started protecting us even after its, like, robot controller, cloud system was deactivated. It still did its job. We should probably, have its back.
I would say incredibly begrudgingly, right?
Oh yeah, it's not happy about it.
It's like, fuck. I do, like, there's also, like, parts where Murderbot is, and I want to say anthropomorphized in an interesting way, because, like, again, huge emphasis on the fact that it's a robot, even though it's made up of inorganic components, and the organic components that it has are clone parts. So it's clone, robot, and then it also gets armor. And it can be repaired in a cubicle. Like, there's a lot of interesting world building around this concept of this construct, because it also exists in a world alongside augmented humans. But the way in which Murderbot begins to care for these humans is very against her own will. Like, she's just like. The part that struck me was in the beginning when she rescues those two scientists from the pit when they're getting attacked, and she's dragging one of the ones that's, like, having a panic attack up while holding the other one that's injured.
Yes.
And after reviewing the footage, part of the reason they didn't, like, try to incapacitate Murderbot when they found out that her governor module was hacked into was because the, like, lead scientist was like, hey, she was calming
Valescu, I believe, yeah.
Calming Valescu down while she was dragging him out of the pit. And after reviewing the footage, she was like, oh shit, I didn't even know I was doing that.
Yeah,
I was,
like completely unaware.
So it's interesting that, like, in that way, right, she has, like, a natural fight or flight trauma response, even though we get a lot of her view of situations where she's, like, tapping into cameras, got communications, pushing thought, like, it's very sci-fi, but then there's this, like, very human instinct to, like, fight or flight, block shit out. So I love Murderbot. I'm a stan.
No, she kicks ass. So the what's the place they're from? It's called Preservation Ox. Is the I think it's like a independent system of planets, or, like, one, like, planet that hasn't been incorporated by, you know, all the terrible, weird, you know, world building out in this universe. But this group of scientists, there's, I think, 8 of them. A lot of them have doctorates and some of them don't. The main ones you need to know are Dr. Mensa and Dr. Garathan. Basically, Mensa is the main sponsor for Murderbot, who ends up buying its contract. Garathan doesn't trust it.
And Mensa is also the president.
Yeah, it's not like made explicitly clear, but like halfway through, they're just like, oh, the reason that these people are trying to get you is because she's a high value political target. It's like, what does that mean? That's all you need to know, and it's fine.
Yeah, Murderbot deadass at one point was just like, yeah, they wouldn't kill anyone important, and they're like, do you not know who we are? Did you not read your brief? And Murderbot was like, no.
And they're like, why? And it's like, I didn't want to.
It took too much time away from my cereals. So, and then they were like, yeah, so Mensa's the president. And Murderbot's like,
Good.
Moving on.
But yeah, I mean, did any of them stand out to you in particular?
I like Pinley. Pinley was the biggest advocate, I think, for Murderbot. Seemed to be like the robotics expert. I did also like Mensa. She was a bad bitch and didn't take any crap from anyone else. And there was a lot of times when Murderbot was like, that scientist has been on expeditions before. Mm-hmm. And it's very fun because she's very like, she's kind of, you know, Indiana Jonesy, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's a part where like where Murderbot's like, I'm gonna hack her profile and say that she's a good commander because I respect her so much, which is very fun.
You do have a note here that says polyamory is the future. Do you care to explain?
Yeah, I mean, like, basically every scientist whose relationship is noted is in some sort of like 3 or 4-way marriage. And at the beginning, Murderbot's like, yeah, so the scientists are all like flirting with each other also, maybe a little bit. I mean, sometimes it's not even flirting. It's just like, you know, strong admiration. But, you know, at the very end, it's explained that Mensa has like 4 partners and like a couple children and is in like this, you know, big complex relationship. And it's very fun to be like, yeah, I mean, corporations do control everything in the future, which sucks, but at least we got rid of monogamy, which is nice in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, not
for me.
I don't know about for us personally, but
no, not for the host of this podcast, but for other people, probably.
Yeah, I support my polyamorous friends. Get everything you want. I can only handle one person at a time. Aaron, famously a wife guy. Mm-hmm. So then we have Grey Chris, which we find out are. I like when they were Evil Ox for a second, when they didn't know the name.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, the evil team, the bad guys.
It was really great. We don't know that much about them, right?
Nope, they just sort of show up and then they negotiate with Murderbot and they're like, I guess we, okay. And then they're defeated and then they're like, well, okay. That's it. Goodbye. I forget the specifics of how they are defeated, but basically, you know, it's. I don't even think there's a huge showdown, right? They just sort of get scattered when the launch goes off, the launch probe.
Yeah, they get scattered, and because the novella is from the point of view of Murderbot, and it goes offline, you don't get to see what happens after she gets shot off a cliff.
Yeah, no. You know, there's like some lawyer stuff at the end. There's like a litigation, like there's some hints of that, but you know, we really don't know much about them besides the fact that they also were like probably not informed about why, you know, they were doing all this and what their targets were. And, you know, there's a lot of hints about like a bigger universe going on, but again, because it's a novella, because it's so contained, there's not really that much more, that you need, I think. I think the novel stays exactly as long as it wants to.
Yeah, which I appreciate. Then we have the company, as we mentioned. Just cheap motherfuckers.
I was going to say, it's like Space Walmart.
Space Walmart are just cheap. They don't want anything. I do also want to give an honorary shout out to the transport bot that shows up at the very, very end. It is a
Extremely good.
non-speaking robot. It just transports things. And Murderbot comes up to it and is like, they can't like communicate with words, but it like pushes a thought. And she's like, I got all of this TV. Do you want to give me a ride? And the transport bot's like, yeah.
Sure.
I'm very bored. Get up here. So that's how Murderbot gets off planet. I thought that was fantastic. I too would be very bored and ready to watch some TV if I was a transport bot.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get a whole lot of it, but we do get these suggestions that like all of the like cybernetic and like AI people all have like a lot of complex interiority, and the ways in which they are treated by the humans in this world, does not allow for that. But like Murderbot, because they can communicate with computers and shit, like kind of like susses out their personalities and is like, I feel bad about killing all of these other like security robots that got hacked because they are just like me, but like I think it's a good way to build out empathy for both your character and like kind of the themes of the novel. And at the end, just really nice to be like, yeah, I hitched a ride with this like machine that doesn't really want to talk, but it did want to watch every episode of Psych. So
that's called the barter economy, baby.
It's very good. Capitalism is unfortunately still alive in the Murderbot universe, but we're making it work by trading illegally downloaded episodes of Night Vale. So yeah, I mean, like, you have a point here, which is just about how technology is vibes, and I think we've come out as fans of that in the past. Yeah,
sometimes I don't listen. Speculative fiction is fine, right? Like, I think it's fine to be like, oh, we could use solar power to make tea or something. I don't know, we do that now. But, like, it's fine to try to, like, speculate on how the actual science works. But I also like that Murderbot is just kind of vibes. Like, how do they put when do you stop being an augmented human and become a construct? What is the ethics of cloning? What is the legality of all this? How'd that happen? How do they put the clone parts together? Are they just cloning parts? Or are they cloning people and then chopping them up for? I don't know. It's just kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
What does a transport bot look like? I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. What do the habitats look like? Who cares? Is it a jungle planet, a forest planet? I don't give a fuck. They're on a planet. They're exploring. You fill in the goddamn gaps. And it doesn't, like... I get kind of frustrated when books ask me to fill the wrong gaps. Like, sometimes books leave so much to the imagination that it feels like work to fill in the world. But this was easy, right? Because all the things it asked me to fill in didn't actually matter to the story. It's just like a little coloring book around Murderbot. You're like, I get to picture whatever the fuck I want happening here. But speaking of vibes and kind of adjacent to the gender conversation we had earlier, like, what did you imagine Murderbot looking like? Because I didn't really, like, look at the cover before I went in. I know that there's a drawing, an illustration on the cover.
Yeah, so I had seen the cover before, so I knew that, like, when its whole armor is up and it's got its faceplate opaqued, it looks kind of like an armored astronaut. So I knew that, but, like, excuse me, I recently watched a video about the show Ex Machina, the movie Ex Machina. So that probably also colored my perceptions. But I really just imagined Murderbot as kind of a white woman that had a bunch of like armor on, and I think that probably speaks to who I am as a man in the U.S. Where if I see an AI and I hear a female voice, I'm just like, oh, it's Alexa, right?
Yeah, I think I imagined them, like, it wasn't very specific, like, I didn't have a totally concrete picture, but definitely, like, the thing that came in clearest to me was, I feel like this character would have a buzz cut, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely, like baldish.
Yeah, like, that really rang true to me, and then everything else was just kind of fuzzy, which I appreciated, because, again, it was all just kind of vibes.
Yeah, I don't think the story lingers on details to its credit. It'll add important descriptions or explanations, but like it largely does trust its reader to sort of figure it out. Like it never explains that the software that they use to communicate is telepathic. But like you kind of just like figure it out when it's just like, oh, I, nudged this, or I sent it to them. Like it's you kind of sort of figure it out along the way just by the way that it's kind of written. Similarly, like when they're talking about the technology, you just sort of kind of get the idea that it's like kind of like, especially the relationship between Murderbot and the company and the governor module, right? They never explain like exactly what servers the government module is like, shooting in internet particles from. But you just sort of just like, it's all connected in this way. I don't need any more information besides that. And I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah, you really don't need to. And I think it's smart also because, you and I are both writers, unfortunately.
That's what I would say.
When you set up a pretty concrete, like world infrastructure, you all of a sudden have to make sure that the things that cause events fit reasonably within your world infrastructure. So if you say that, oh, we have these 3 companies and they operate in these quadrants and these people are specifically in this quadrant, then company A can't send information through a satellite that company B owns because they're in this territory. But so how do you solve for company A getting that information over? Like, it becomes this whole thing. But now it's like, yeah, there's a company and there's satellites and I guess they download things. It's vibes. I'm into it.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with a project like this that's, 150 pages, you don't really need more than that. I think the story is compact and it gets where it wants to, and that's smart. And like I think that the main strength of All Systems Red is the fact that like its plot's really not that complicated, and it's probably one that you've heard before. A lot of the criticism of this book was like, yeah, I mean, the plot's pretty standard. A robot is helping a team of humans. Something goes bad, but the robot proves that it's more human than not human, and it saves them in the end, and everybody's happy. And like, that's completely fine, but like, that's also where, because it's such a, I don't want to say boilerplate because that sounds like I'm, shitting on the story, which I'm not, but like a standard story. When you have those kind of like templates that people are familiar with, then you can sort of play around, then you can just be like really getting into the interiority of the narrator, which is why I think Murderbot works, because, we have so much time just like seeing what this kind of standard story looks like through the eyes of somebody who is like, God, I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. And I think it's funny that you point out that Murderbot proves that he's more human than people assume, because the whole resolution of the book is that, yes, he proves that he is more human than people assume, and therefore the humans like bust him out of his contract and want to bring him home so he could like start a new life. And he's like, no, I'm a robot. Bye. So it's really fun. I like Murderbot rejecting everything.
Yeah,
self-interest.
I mean, it's a really nice ending. I think nice, not like, oh, it's heartwarming, but like I think it is smart to be like, Murderbot doesn't like humans. Like, we've read this entire book about how Murderbot doesn't like people and is very awkward and comfortable around people. Like, there's all these like little inserts of like when people look at Murderbot because it says a weird thing, it'll be like, yeah, so I knew objectively it was about 1.8 seconds, but it felt like 20 million years, the space between them looking at me and their response. And like we get this idea of like kind of a weird, uncomfortable person, and like, so it makes total sense that even though they did form a strong relationship with the PA crew and Dr. Mensa, it's just not, they just aren't the family type. They don't want to settle down.
Ironic, considering the other episode we are recording shortly.
Which is all about family, if you know what we're saying. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's nice. I think it comes to a good resolution, and it allows for Murderbot to go on and do more weird hijinks in the future. So, yeah, I'm sure the Murderbot saga continues, and now that you bring it up, I really should try to see if my local library has more audiobooks of the rest of them, because, it's a 3-hour audiobook is something I crave, considering the other audiobook I tried to read and gave up on this past couple weeks was like about the excavation of Jerusalem, and it was 19 hours, and I was like, this is a lot.
I crushed this novella in an hour and a half.
Yeah, no, it's a breeze.
That's why I can't really do audiobooks, or if I do them, I have to do them on 1.25 speed, because this neurodivergent queen can't handle being spoken slowly too. So, I crushed that shit in about an hour and a half. It was great. I was like, this is exactly what I crave. It got me back on track with my storygraph goals, like my reading goal for the year is back on track. It's very sexy to me. Thank you.
So for our marketing minute, Leyla, in the spirit of, I have 2 options for you. One was like, if you could take a kind of a boilerplate, tried and tested story and spice it up with fun characters, what do you think your pitch for that would be? Or if you could write a story about evil corporations that are kind of like bland and cheap, and the systems within them that are actively resisting their influence, what do you think that would look like? I can give you my answer if you want some time to think.
Yes.
So this is, I've been working on a short story for a year that I just have not gotten around to finishing, but it is about like, what if Amazon/Walmart hired like mech pilots out of high school, and they hired Naruto, and Naruto slowly got disillusioned with his job being a mech security guy, and eventually turned the mechs on his overlords. And it's written through the perspective of a nurse who is treating his wounds as he, gets his ass kicked in his mech over and over again because of the reason. You know how mech stories go, where their pilot always ends up injured. That's something that I've been working on for a long time, and I haven't finished it, but I want to get that done eventually.
Hey, I love that you drew the comparison to our good boy Nart. You are describing Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Well, I guess I'll never finish that story now.
No, I think you should. I think you should redeem. Paul Blart.
It's if Paul Blart Mall Cop realized that he actually should be a cab and drove his scooter into the local police precinct headquarters.
I think, you know what? I think in the spirit of the new TRIGUN movie coming out, which I'm very excited about. I love a TRIGUN. I would like to see more of your kind of boilerplate action thrillers, but through the perspective of the insurance agents that have to deal with all the infrastructure damage. Because that is my favorite part of TRIGUN. Is it a beautiful story about Vash the Stampede? Yes. Is it about shootouts, and are there great friendships, great loves found and lost? Absolutely. You know what else there is? 2 insurance agents that are following around this man that are like, stop blowing towns up, and he doesn't. So I do think, you know what? I think we could create a duology where, if you're the nurse cleaning up the wounds, or writing about the nurse cleaning up the wounds, I could write about the insurance agents for the warehouse and the trials and tribulations and what they have to do to clean up after this heroic mess.
That's fair. I think that's very fun. That's a good time. If you have your own pitch for a TV show that takes a boilerplate story and makes it a little bit more interesting, or just want to write something about making a stand against corporations, you can call us at 775-573-8882 to leave us a little message, and we will probably listen to it and say, oh, what a nice thing someone sent us.
And you can email us and we might respond on air. We're very amicable to communication. You guys should talk to us. So, Aaron, before we go into our closing, I do have a couple of questions. Well, one question for you that I think you could answer. Can you share with the audience a couple of things you've learned about James Cameron's Avatar in the last couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah. So I have decided to become Avatar pilled, for better or for worse. I've been reading Pandorapedia at work. Um, and I've learned a lot of really interesting stuff. I think that the thing about James Cameron's Avatar is that the world building's actually really cool, except for the parts that James Cameron personally interacted with. I watched a YouTube video about how to create the music for Avatar. Like, they hired like a bunch of like like renowned music researchers that studied 18 different and various cultures from across the world, and like used their styles and blended them together to create something literally like that no one had ever done before, creating like a truly alien sequence of music with time signatures that are just completely different, because like the Na'vi only have 4 fingers, so like the way that they would play their flutes is completely different. And then James Cameron listened to it and he's like, oh, this doesn't sound very good. Could you make it sound more Western? And you'd have to hand it to James Cameron. The man fucking culturally appropriated his own species that doesn't exist. And that deserves some sort of award.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah, so great. I was debating pulling out the Avatar watch alarm for this, but I thought just a nice little sharing with the audience at the end of an episode would suffice. I will be forcing Aaron, whenever he tweets a new Avatar fact, to share it on our good podcast.
Mm-hmm. I'm very particularly fond of the banana fruit tidbit.
Continue.
So in the Na'vi culture, if you find a banana on the ground, you have to pick it up, but you can't eat it right away. You have to bring it back and show it to all your friends, and offer it to them. And they're not supposed to accept because that's rude. It's like, oh, I'm eating a banana that you found. And they're like, no, you can have it. That's the culturally appropriate thing to do. But if you're a young teen Na'vi, the thing to do is be like, oh, hell yeah, man, and try to eat the banana that your friend's offering, and your friend will then, you and your friend will get in a wrestling match over the banana. And sometimes the banana gets squashed in the fight, and apparently Na'vi teens think that's the funniest shit in the world.
I must be a Na'vi teen because I think that's.
I was gonna say that's so fun. Like, that's such a fun, weird, specific thing. I think specificity is so important when it comes to world building, because if you can throw in like weird shit like that's like, oh, these are just like normal people that do weird things, like taking that thing that's like, oh, you can't eat a banana off the ground, and also being like, yeah, but teens think that's stupid. Like, that's good shit. And I guarantee you James Cameron didn't come up with it.
Yeah, one of my proudest accomplishments with my work in progress is there is a little town, and there are 2 bakeries there that have a violent rivalry over who makes the better plum tart. And it is a plot point in the story because the main character is a prince and he can't go inside either one because it'll be seen as siding.
Exactly. No, it'll cause a political uprising.
He has to be real sneaky about it. But yeah, do more shit like that. It's fun. Any final thoughts about either James Cameron's Avatar or this great series that we read?
I mean, God, the thing is that when this comes out in 2 months, I'm sure I'll have actually said a lot more wild shit about Avatar. So, I'm sorry for that. This is
gonna be a weird window into the past, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be so much smarter about Avatar in 2 months, to everyone's detriment.
Oh man, well I'm excited. So I think you can take us out.
Yeah, Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at LEYLSCS on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. I will hopefully soon return to writing my webcomic. I just published an essay about why I think queer reading modes are still important. And you can find me and Marty on our new podcast, Sit Boy, which I'm sure will be out by the time this episode airs, where we rewatch Inuyasha a couple episodes at a time. And the rules are no skipping filler. We watch all the movies. And no, we will not be covering Yashahime. So join us. I will post a link whenever the show actually drops.
Oh my God. Is Marty a Inuyasha fan?
Oh, it was incredibly formative to both of us. I'm very excited to revisit it.
Good. At least they know what they're getting into, because I would not do that.
We've both seen it twice at this point. This will be, I think, our third full watch for both of us.
All right. Well, you perverts have fun. You can find me on Twitter at AaronSXL, where I tweet about tabletop RPGs, health policy, and writing. You can follow me. Hold on. You can follow my YouTube channel at AA Voigt, where I tweet about, or I make videos about tabletop RPG reviews. I do another podcast with my friends at The Bible Boys. We talk about Christian media and either praise or condemn it, and it's a fun and good time. And also my co-hosts are ex-evangelicals, and they're also siblings, and they've been on this podcast before.
They're going to be on this podcast again when the Duffer Brothers drop their fucking Death Note.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, well, we'll look forward to that. Jesus. What else I was going to say? At this point, I've probably posted the story that I got published in Broken Plate magazine. It's called Onward Christian Soldiers. It's about what if Thomas Jackson got his arm ripped off by a big angel, and that's how he died. So that'll be up on my website at this point. It'll be up at the end of July. But it was my first story that I ever got published in print, which is a big deal for me. So that's nice. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how do we want to end this episode?
Out of inventory and out of sight.
We'll see you all next time.